Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'a sunnatahu ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again to another episode of your weekly Islamic chat show, Guest of the Week, coming to you from Sharjah Media Corporation. As always, I'm your host, Ismail Bullock. And today's episode, inshallah, from time to time, we like to have a story of someone who accepted Islam or somebody who returned to Islam as with some extra maybe advice to those people out there who themselves are struggling or are considering Islam or want to return back to Islam. So today, inshallah, we have with us Brother Adam, who is coming to us originally from Canada. And Brother Adam, maybe you could tell us a bit about your story, because I understand that even though you had, you could say, Muslim lineage, you'd completely turned away from Islam and pretty much didn't even consider yourself or believe in Islam. So tell us a bit about yourself and this story. We'd like to hear this, inshallah.
طيب إن شاء الله. بسم الله والحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Jazakallah khair for having me. You know, those who don't thank the people, in reality, they're not thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's an honor and a privilege to be here. So I would start off by pretty much saying, like, I was a youth. My character and the way I conducted myself was someone who did not appreciate or someone who did not get along with authority, period. Whether that be in school, whether that be my parents, whether that be a soccer coach. I had this embedded in me since I was a little kid. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't, you know, and you find that a lot today with the youth who are astray and things like that, who are in the streets and stuff like that. They have a big problem with authority. And that's why you find them, they're not working, they're not in school. You know, they want to be their own boss. It's sort of like their own entrepreneur. So I had that issue. So ever since a little kid, I was getting suspended. I was suspended. I was getting in trouble, getting called home, getting in trouble with the law and things like that. And one of the things that made me slip even harder, because again, my parents, every parent loves their child and they don't want them to go on that path. So they did many things to try to keep me on that path, throw me into sports, try to accommodate me in things. You know what I mean? They went out their way really hard. But one thing that really, really screwed me up was when I found a group of individuals in my neighborhood. That's when I started hitting the age around 12 or something like that, where I started to think I'm the big shot. I could do what I want. I could think on my own. I could, you know what I mean? I'm responsible. I found a group of individuals. And these individuals, they were on, you know, not the greatest mindset. You see what I'm saying? Like on the streets, on the drugs.
It's interesting because I've noticed now, especially in modern times, a lot of the young children that back in the day, everybody could have been naughty or bad behaved, getting into fights, but you didn't see people, 12-year-olds carrying weapons. Back in the day, it would be like certain grown adults, they'd be the ones you shouldn't mess around with. But nowadays, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
The 12-year-old stabbing the big muscly guy who's known to be the big boss. So it's really, really the youth now. This situation has really gone like crazy, literally.
100%. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. It was just like a bunch of youth acting like grown men, moving like grown men. And subhanAllah, I got kicked out of my school that same year when I met those new guys. So when I happened to go to school, I seen them there too, which was even a bigger problem. Because then I was more focused in skipping school, getting fights in the hallways and things like that, and running around with women and stuff, all at a young age. Like, you'd be surprised, like 13, 14 years old, and you're like, whoa, like before high school. So like 12, 13 years old, guys are doing these things at that age. So what happened was I grew up with them, and the more we grew up with them, there was, of course, older guys in that neighborhood as well. Older guys in the neighborhood selling drugs, you know, etc. what you see. So we just kind of followed in their footsteps. Again, everybody looks up to somebody, whether you like it or not. It's naturally, it's there, it's in the heart. You look up to somebody. And the problem with the youth is they look up to rappers and music and things like that. And that's one of the things that really, really influenced me and influenced my circle was music.
And it's interesting because we find, mashallah, quite a lot of rappers now have become Muslim. And they're always highlighting this. They're always saying how that this life is not going to make you happy. And some of them tell you, you see us, even the rappers who are making really good money, they don't all have private jets that are theirs. Sometimes they're rented. And one of the rappers who'd become Muslim and left that life, he said, look, a lot of those and he was rapping with the most famous rappers that's still alive now and rapping, and he was saying the helicopters and the Lamborghinis and all these things you see, most of them are rented.
Allahu Akbar.
You know, even astaghfirullah, literally, the females are also, for lack of better words, paid to come and dance or whatever it is. You know, so he said it's not as glamorous as you say, and even if we own some of those things, we feel unhappy, and that's why you see some of these actors and musicians and stuff, some of them who you would imagine, if you didn't know better, that they have everything. Yeah. They must be so happy. They can just travel when they want. They can buy whatever they want. So many of them, if they don't commit suicide or try to, or become addicts to alcohol or drugs, they turn around and say to you, I'm so miserable. I'm searching for happiness. So like you said, so many of these youth, they see these things and they're like, yeah.
It's a delusion.
That's what I want to get.
Yeah, delusion of this worldly life. And it's a shame because you see Muslim youth at that time who was around me was, you could say, a Muslim descendants lineage, things like that. But it's a shame because we lacked belief and understanding in the Shahada. You know, following the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bearing witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a messenger of Allah. And part of the belief in believing that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a messenger is that you follow him. You see what I'm saying? We abandon the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the sunnah of man. You see rappers putting bottles on tables and things like that. We're gonna start doing that in the houses that we hanged out in. They call them like traps and stuff like that. You just put the bottle. We do everything they want to do, to the point where when we started getting into that lifestyle, you eventually want to do what they're doing, right? So eventually we started rapping. I was going to shows, like many things. Like you just literally do exactly what they're doing. If you heard they got this type of gun, you're going to try to get this type of gun. If you heard that he's got these type of women, you're going to try to find these type of women. If they did this, you want to do that. You see what I'm saying? It's almost just like your aqeedah is just completely like, it's just gone. You're just following, like you go with the wind. You know what I mean? If the people want this, you're going to go with the people. Mathalan, one brother, he was mentioning it the other day, nowadays it's kind of a style now. You see the rappers, they grow their beards. So it's not like everyone's trying to grow their beards now. If the rappers had to, they put their pants, nifsu saq or something like that, but everyone's going to start doing it. It's the point they made them their idols.
But it's funny, it's not quite the same, but we have this fashion that was, I don't know if it's still as prominent, but it's definitely still going on, and it has been the last few years, this whole hipster thing, where the guy grows a beard and he wears his
trousers above his ankles.
Yeah. And then you see so many people in Muslim countries all of a sudden growing their beards. The same person, if you said to him, grow your beard, he would like, oh, come on, man, I'm not some matawa or some mullah or something, laughing about it. All of a sudden, everyone else is doing it. Some famous people, some actors, they grow their beards. All of a sudden, he wants to grow his beard. So we see like so many of these people, they following those fashions. And you're like, the Prophet ﷺ, the one, if you follow him, inshallah, you'll receive salvation. You guys didn't care. All of a sudden it becomes a fashion. And I recently saw something where now all of a sudden I can't remember which European country it was, but anyway, it was one of those European countries. They've started now using the miswak. And they're calling it tooth stick. And they're actually promoting it as if it's a newly discovered thing that hasn't been used in Africa and Muslim countries for so long. They're like health benefits, and they're selling it. And they even do what some of the Muslims do when they give you the fancy plastic pen-looking cover, so it looks chic. And it was being promoted, and people started buying it and talking, oh, look at this new tooth sticker, like it's something they'd never heard of, as if it's been discovered in the West. So again, you'll probably find some Muslims all of a sudden, oh, they're doing it, and they start doing it as well. So this is a big problem, that people are trying to look up to this life, or these people, other people who don't really in reality deserve. They themselves are still behind the closed doors. Many of them are miserable. They're looking for happiness.
100%. The hearts will never find happiness except in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how it is. And it's funny how you mentioned that we follow them to the T, to that point. It almost like it becomes, this is what's cool. This is what you want to do. Hatta the individual that you're looking up to went to jail, you want to go to jail. And that's what happened to me. To the point I never got arrested, I never went to jail, but I was yearning to it. I wanted it. I wanted to experience. I wanted the full experience. I wanted the gang lifestyle. I wanted the rapping lifestyle. I wanted the woman. And I even wanted to go to the jail system. just to see what it's like. Like it's complete now.
Not just that. I mean, I guess as well that yourself and those people who are looking up to them. This is a way of your reputation as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
I've been
Exactly.
I was sent down kind of thing. So you become like another level of, in the line of gangster now.
Exactly. Like you got some levels, you got some stripes on your shoulders. So what happened was, because I wanted that, I kind of started putting my guard down. You know what I mean? I didn't really care anymore, to the point where I did get arrested. And then I did end up going to jail. And I went to jail at a young age for a long period of time. I did about 2 years and 8 months. And of course, in a juvenile detention center, it wasn't the big thing, you know what I mean? But because of the crime that I committed, it was had brick walls. It's pretty much like, it was jail. And wallahi, subhanAllah, doing my time in there, I changed in there. And not only did I change myself, but I made a change in there by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what happened was, you're on different ranges. This is how the prison is set up, the jail. It's different units, different ranges, different blocks, whatever you want to call it. And the youth cannot associate with other youth on different ranges because of issues, fights, things like that. People got problems, you know what I mean? So the only time we got to see each other is if we signed up for special programs, mental health program, women violence, religious practices, things like that. That's the only time we got to see each other. So one time there was a program where I think they were doing women violence, and I happened to go because you get $20. They put it in your canteen, you get to save it when you get out. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to this. And I went to this and I saw other guys that were kind of like, they were like real gangsters, and I really appreciate it. Because they say real recognize real. And that's what they say, real recognize real. So I looked at them, I was like, yo, these guys are real, I want to surround myself with these type of people. Just like in Islam, you're looking for the best type of people. That way you can surround yourself with them, that way you can beat them. You know what I mean? So the same thing, you're trying to look around, those guys who are really in the streets, that way you can surround yourself with them, you can get the same image as them, and then you could kind of imitate them and mock them and be like them. So I seen these individuals and I'm like, I want to surround myself with these guys, you know what I mean? So after that, we kind of talked and things like that. Then later on, they told me there's an imam coming, Friday. I said, what's an imam? They said that like I was that ignorant on Islam. I did not know what an imam was. They said that it was a priest, like the Christian, like a priest for the Christians, but just like for Islam. I said, you guys going? They said, yeah. I said, I'm just going because you guys are going. I said, no problem, let's go. You know what I mean? So the Friday came up and I signed up and I asked them, the guards if I can go. And we went Friday, and the sheikh, he came in, and we're all sitting down. Like it was like the library, and it was like a half circle like this. Not really like half, but it was just kind of like semi like that. And I was sitting in the middle, right in front of the sheikh when he sat down. And at that time, I had long hair. It was like down to like almost my hips. I had braids, my pants down like almost to my knees, like with the swag and just like everything that you see nowadays on TV. And the first thing he did when he sat was he looked to the individual on his right. And he asked him, he said, Akhi, did you pray? And this is the time of Asr time. Did you pray? He said, yeah, I prayed. I was shocked. I looked at him. I said, what? In my head, I'm thinking, I thought you were a gangster, Akhi. Gangsters don't pray. So what do you mean you prayed? He looked to the next guy and he said, did you pray? He said, yeah, I prayed. So I'm thinking, whoa. I thought these guys were gangsters. So all of a sudden, like my sight of them went down. Like you guys.
Just gonna hold you on that point.
Okay.
Inshallah, we're gonna go for a short break. Join us after this break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Now, just before we went to the break, you mentioned how that you were in this juvenile detention, and that you'd seen these guys that you looked up to. You thought these guys are gangsters. I'm going to hang out with them. And then they said they're going to go and see the imam, and you sat down and you started to notice how he got to the first one, the second one, and they both said they prayed. So you're thinking like, what's going on?
Yeah,
these
the
guys
level
are
went down.
gangsters. What are they praying for?
Yeah. So then the sheikh got to me. And Allah subhanAllah, he asked me, he said, did you pray? And I'm looking at him like, do you not see who you're looking at? And but at the same time, I had that mentality. I felt ashamed, wallahi. Ajib, wallahi. Like, how did that question affect me like that? Did you pray? Like in my head, I was just looking arrogantly at these individuals who prayed, and then all of a sudden I feel ashamed that I didn't pray. I told him, no, I don't pray. He said, la bas. He said, no problem. He didn't. He was a very nice sheikh. Allahumma barak lahu. He went to the next guy and he said, did you pray? So the next guy said, no, I didn't pray yet. So I said, yet? I said, what, do you pray too much? So he said, inshallah, why don't you go make wudu? why don't you pray your Salat al-Asr? And he said, why don't I go make wudu and I go pray with the individual? I said, I don't know how to make wudu. So he kind of taught me on the spot how to make wudu. I kind of just looked at him. I kind of imitated him, you know. And again, I'm only doing this because everyone else around me is doing this. That's kind of influenced me as well. If everyone didn't pray, I probably wouldn't have done that. So I went and I listened to him. I went to the bathroom. I did what I did. I came back. I told the sheikh what I did. He said, you got it wrong, but labas. You know what I mean? You don't need to stress on it. And then he said, okay, why don't you pray with the brother? I told the sheikh, I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to pray. He said, no problem, just follow him. I said, okay, so you made takbir al-ihram, I made takbir al-ihram, I followed him. And then subhanAllah, we went to sajda. Wallahi al-adim, yani, it was like a fist of water. When it hit the heart, it just gushed. It just like, I don't know how to explain, it just like cleansed the heart. It just like, you know, when you get the shivers, like the chill through the whole body?
Yeah, I can relate to that because I remember one of the first things when I saw the Muslims praying in my school, and I said to them, I want to become a Muslim, and they took me to the mosque at some stage, and I actually made wudu with them and joined the prayer without becoming Muslim. And I felt the same thing. When I was making sujood, it was like, whoa, I can't explain it, but it's like you said, something was like, you never felt it before.
Never.
It's just some kind of like real uplifting feeling.
Unbelievable.
So I can relate to that.
Yeah,
definitely.
unbelievable. When I went into that sajda, I told myself, this is it. This is the real deal. I said, this is what's real. You know, again, you think the streets is real. Wallahi ta'ajib. As Muslims right now, we think we have the haqq. You know, we have the haqq. We have the haqq. And we look at other people like, you know, miskeen, subhanAllah, they don't have the haqq. And if they die upon that, they're going to be, you know what I mean? They're going to get what they deserve. And it's like, as in the streets, we believe we're on the haqq. And then everyone is just living the life 24, working 9 to 5, and we're thinking they're upon batil. And this is the real deal. You know what I mean? This is the real deal. So subhanAllah, it's funny the way they thought, but I said, this is what's real. This right here, this is what's real. So I made the intention from then, I am going to pray from now on. I got up, I listened to what the Shaykh wanted to say in the halaqah. He said, I don't remember what he said. I was just like, when I go back to the range, I'm going to print out the prayer sheet, I'm praying. That's what I'm doing. And it was Asr time. So I went back to the range, I prayed Maghrib. I got one of the CEOs to print out the sheet of prayer times. I prayed Maghrib, I prayed Isha that day. Mind you, I don't know how to pray. So I'm just doing whatever. I remembered what I did with that individual in my cell. So I'm just trying to do what they did. They provided me with a prayer mat. And then subhanAllah, it was like, I called my mom. And I said, Mom, I changed. She said, what do you mean you changed? I said, I changed. I said, I want to learn how to pray. I didn't know Fatiha. But alhamdulillah, my dad knew Fatiha. At the time, he knew Fatiha. So he taught me he taught me Fatiha on the phone. Imagine I'm on the pay phone and alhamdulillah, you know, I'm sitting. I didn't even know how to read Arabic. I didn't know nothing. So alhamdulillah, he taught me Fatiha on the phone. I got a piece of paper. I tried to write it down in the English letters and just, you know, I just going back and forth with him, you know, hifd, you know, muraja with my dad, you know. And then subhanAllah, I used Fatiha and I started praying and things like that. And then I called my mom another time and she told me about the Deen show. She knew about the Deen show. My mom doesn't pray, she doesn't wear hijab, nothing, even to this day. You know, may Allah guide her. You know, she's Muslim. She believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and things like that. And she struggles. She's on and off, alhamdulillah. She comes to the masjid sometimes. But she told me about the Deen show. I didn't know how she knew about it. Allah subhanallah. So due to good behavior, I was eventually allowed. I used to sneak on the internet in school. They take you to a whole new part of the jail where you do education. And I got the opportunity to graduate in there. If it was not for the jail system, I would not be graduating. I don't even have like, right now I go to university in Saudi. Alhamdulillah, like if it wasn't for jail, I wouldn't even have a high school diploma to have the opportunity to go there. Sure. You see what I'm saying? So that like school was out my mind. So I had that, and then because of my good behavior, they allowed me to, I used to sneak the internet sometimes because my teacher really liked me. So I cleaned every video of the Deen show. Every video. He used to talk about atheism and everything. So, and then after that, I moved on to other speakers, and I started benefiting from them, and I watched street dawah, and I did a lot, and I was really into this stuff. Because again, it's like you have something so pure, so nice, and you just want to share with the people. That's true, it's sincerity. You see what I'm saying? Like you really want something. Nowadays, I might be sitting here, and I might see something wrong in you, or I might see a non-Muslim, and I won't even convey the message of Islam. I will not convey, and I will not enjoin what is good, due to whatever the case may be, shy or whatever the case may be. But at that point, it was like you're a newborn baby. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who accepts Islam is sins, like you're a newborn baby. You know what I mean? So it's like the heart was clean and pure. I just wanted to teach and just give what I had to the people. So I would go back to the unit, I'd go back to the range, I would give da'wah. I didn't have no knowledge. I used to do a halaqa after Asr. I would tell everybody, no TV. You know TMZ? Have you heard TMZ before? TMZ is some big famous TV show that we used to always watch. And I said, no one's allowed watching TMZ. I said, no one's allowed until we read the Quran. Non-Muslims were sitting at the table, I'm opening the Quran, even like CEOs, like even some guards, they were girls, just sitting there. We'll get to an ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the example how He would resurrect the people on the Day of Judgment, how Allah would send down the rain and He would cultivate the grass and the herbs and everything like that. And He'd say, this is the example of life and death. And I would say, look outside, say, look at the grass, see, this is what's going to happen to me. You know, just give me my own tafsir, you know. May Allah forgive me, but alhamdulillah, people started accepting Islam. People started accepting Islam. It was unbelievable. Wallah, I made a change in where I was. I made a change in myself at that time, and I made a change in and I made a change on the range, in the unit. Hatta Christians were fasting Mondays and Thursdays and praying with us, and they didn't accept Islam.
But that, I mean, that's interesting to say, because that is what the Muslim should be. The Muslim should be a positive, beneficial part of his community. So you then had become a Muslim, you then started practicing. And of course, sometimes when we first become practicing, but we learn after time, we get very overzealous, right? But of course, but you did what you should have. You started talking to them, you started teaching them, and you had a positive effect in a place really that is known for negativity. People have all gone there for a negative reason.
Yes.
So not only did you do what a Muslim should do in the sense of be beneficial and nafi', be beneficial to the people. At the same time, you taught them about Islam, and you took people from negativity into positivity.
To the best of my ability, to the best of the knowledge I had at that time. Hatta even to the point where we play basketball and some guys are rough and things like that. I broke my nose a few times. Even when I got cuffed and I went to the hospital, I would give da'wah to the CEOs that are with me, to the point, subhanAllah, I was in the hospital in the emergency, to the point people crowded. And I was just going, people were listening, and I didn't have knowledge, we were just going back and forth, I was just running with my iman, that's all I was doing at the time, subhanAllah. And then alhamdulillah, I learned how to read Arabic in there. There was one Arab guy in there, I asked him, give me the alphabets, he taught me the alphabets, I learned how to write my name, and started learning how to connect the letters and started reading and things like that. And then alhamdulillah, brothers started praying tahajjud in there. I started memorizing a little bit of Quran. I didn't know the importance of seeking knowledge and things like that. I didn't have a manhaj. I didn't know nothing too much. You see what I'm saying? But then a big decision I had to make. A big decision. Big decision. Is now what's going to happen when I get out. Am I going to go back to those same guys? And those are the only guys I know. That's it. If it's not them, I don't have a life. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to school. I kind of knew that inside. I'm not going back to school. I'm not really into that. You see what I'm saying? So wallah, I just manned up. I called my sister. I told my sister to do a 3-way. I said, call these guys. So I called them. And I called the head, like one of the oldest guys in the group. And I told him, I said, Akhi, look. I said, I'm a Muslim now. I said, I'm practicing. And I don't want nothing to do with the streets. He said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? We said, we got this for you. We got money. We got everything ready for you, man. We're waiting for you. Because I was one of those guys, like, if you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. You see what I'm saying? So they love guys like that. You see what I'm saying? They use people like that. And I'm not saying they want to use me all the time. There was love between us, like sincere love and things like that. They're good people. But he was trying to persuade me back with the zina, with like the beautification of what that life comes with. And well, because of the iman that I had at the time, none of that fazed me. It didn't have an effect on me. I told him, listen, man, when I come out, I'm not dealing with you guys. That's it. That's final. Well, I just want to call you and let you know that. That's it. So what are you talking about? I said, no, I don't care. I don't care. And that was a make or break for me. Because mathalan, there was another brother who accepted Islam in the jail, and he was from the same kind of group. 17, young boy. Young. He was praying tahajjud, he was memorizing Quran, he was doing everything. Oh. When he got out, he went back to them. 1 month, got shot in the head. 1 month, got shot in the head. And alhamdulillah, at least he accepted Islam. He died as a Muslim, may Allah, forgive him. But that's what happens when you go back to the people. So that was a make or break. That was a make or break for me. So one of the things I had to do when I got out was I didn't know what to do. So now I said, okay, where does a Muslim usually go? And one of the first things that the Prophet ﷺ did when he went to Medina was establish a community, which was from a masjid. So I said, let me go to the masjid. I said, this is where I'm gonna find what I'm looking for, and this is what's gonna save me. This is what's gonna keep me firm. So I looked at my local masjid. I went to my local masjid, And I just started going there every single day. I got out in the summertime, so there was nothing. I couldn't go to work, I was on probation, couldn't work, things like that. So every day I'm in the masjid, Fajr to Isha. Fajr to Isha, every day. Hatta I brought my bed there. I started washing dead bodies. Every day I'm washing dead bodies. I was taking them to the cemetery. I was really involved cleaning the mosque Mondays and we used to clean it Mondays and Thursdays. Clean the mosque, Thursdays for Jummah and Mondays just because of the weekend programs and things like that. So I was really invested in the masjid, helping out, things like that, to the point I brought my bed. They even gave me the key to the library. We started rebuilding the whole library, and I was just really involved in the masjid. And I started sleeping there, and eventually I started meeting new brothers. In the masjid, and then I heard about Medina University, tried to apply and things like that. But one thing I really want to emphasize here is who you associate with. Wallahi, it has a big effect. You are who you're going to be, who you surround yourself with. And you have to watch who you take as a friend. Wallahi, because it's either he's going to change you or you're going to change him. It's one of the two. And especially if you're with a group of people where majority of them are not on what you're on. No matter how strong you think you are, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Even to the point where I thought that I could have an effect on my friends. So I would slowly go back to them and I try to give them da'wah and things like that. To the point where in my life where I fell off. And Shaitan tried to fool me like I'm going to give them da'wah and I'm going to try to call them to Islam and call them to upon what I'm on. But wallah, it's very dangerous. Sometimes it's not good to do that. If you're not ready for that, you don't have the knowledge, maybe you don't have the iman, you're still young, you're still new, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's good to leave it off. And wallah, it's very, very...
They have an Arabic saying that the sahib yashab, or sahib, that the companion is that pulls you. And as we know, the Prophet ﷺ has the hadith, he said, al-mar'a ala dini khalili fi yanzur ahadukum man yukhalil, that the person is on the religion or the way of life as his friends, so let each one of you look who he takes as friends.
Yeah.
So we can see, for example, in your example, how the companionship is, and we know on the day of Qiyamah there'll be people who will be saying, "Ya laytini lam attakhadh fulanan khalila." I wish that I had not taken such and such as a companion. He will be biting his hand on that day, saying, "I wish I hadn't have taken these people." He had misguided me. After the clear remembrance, the guidance was there. So this is something that seriously happens.
And it's like almost like you're hesitant. What's going to happen? Who am I going to be friends with? But whoever fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلُ مَخْرَجًا. He's going to open a way for you. SubhanAllah. So wallah, one of those things that it really helped me was, I have to have taqwa, I have to have this, and you know what I mean?
And SubhanAllah, even that, whoever fears Allah, Allah will make a way out. And we also know the Prophet ﷺ said, I'll just stop now because we're going to go for a break. Join us inshallah after this short break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Now, just before the break, we were talking about the importance of having good friends, good companions, and we mentioned the verse that whoever fears Allah, that Allah will make a way out from him. And it reminded me of a hadith that with a similar meaning, that Prophet ﷺ said, "Man taraka shay'an lillah, awwada Allahu khayrun min." That whoever leaves something off for the sake of Allah, that Allah will provide him with something better. So that's something we have to always look at, right? We say, I enjoy this. If I leave it, I'll have less money, I'll have less friends, I'll be less popular. But Allah will give you something better. Whether it's in this life immediately, whether it's later on in your life, or whether it's in the akhirah, or whether it's all of those things. So that's something we have to look at. Is it worth me going down this road, gaining Allah's anger, living this false life, this life that you'll never be? As we know, the Prophet ﷺ said that if the children of Adam were given a mountain of gold, they would want another one. So this, if you make your goal this life, chasing the money, the cars, the women, it's never going to be enough.
Never.
There'll always be a woman who's more beautiful than the woman you have in some way. In some way, or car that's you're going to get that car. There's going to be a better car. It will never end. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, subhanallah, if people were just to look at the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ,
exactly.
And they would reflect upon them. Prophet ﷺ, he said, don't look at the one or those who are above you, but look at the ones who are below you. Because think about it. No matter how, you don't have a lot of money, you look at the ones below you, like, so, I have an old car outside, it needs to be repaired, it's 10 years old. But I saw those guys, they have to walk 20 miles every day. Or the guy who's walking 20 miles every day, he looks and said, I have to walk 20 miles, but that guy's got no legs. Subhanallah. But if you try and look at above you, it'll never end. You become a millionaire, the guy's a billionaire. You become a billionaire, the guy's a trillionaire. He's got 2 yachts, you've only got 1. You get 2 yachts, he's got 10. You'll never end. But if you always look at those who are below you, you can you can say Alhamdulillah, So this is something that we have to look at and not always look at competing for this worldly life.
Those are two. Afwan, go ahead.
No, I said this is a reality, right? Most of the time, like you mentioned, why people are in this life is because it's for these what they think is reaching that worldly status. I'll be happy, I'll have everything.
That's what everyone's trying to look for. Happy. But those are 2 great acts of worship that you mentioned. It's tawakkul, to have your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be thankful to Allah. And Allah's going to increase if you thank Him. But one thing I wanted to mention is how can one fix his heart? How can one stay upon this path? How can one not fall back if you're in the same situation as myself? Bad friends, things like that. One of the things that helped me a lot was knowledge. Starting to say, I don't have knowledge. I'm not saying I suck knowledge, something like that, but just starting to understand what the religion really expects from you, what it calls to. What's the reality of hayat ad-dunya? You know what I mean? Start seeking knowledge a little bit. And wallahi, one thing that I've noticed, and alhamdulillah, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this, is a lot of people lose focus on their goal. For example, in this life that you mentioned, some people's goal is happiness, and you're never going to achieve that. So what's the real goal that we should be working hard for? And this is Jannah. And one of the easiest ways to get to Jannah is seeking knowledge. من سلك طريقة يلتمس به علما سهل الله له به طريقة إلى جنة. Rawah Muslim. This is one of the easiest ways for you to get to Jannah, is seeking knowledge. And what's the goal of knowledge? Is that we enter Jannah.
And subhanAllah, the hadith, if you look at for those who don't know it, the translation of that is whoever treads a path to seek knowledge, Allah will make a path easy for him to Jannah. And what we see here is, the hadith doesn't say whoever becomes a scholar, or whoever becomes so knowledgeable, whoever gives fatwas. It literally says whoever treads, treading that path could be slowly, could be step by step. You may not get to the end of the path, but as long as you keep treading that path, Allah makes a path easy for you to paradise. So who would, again, we struggle and strive and fight and seek the worldly life. Who would want to miss this option to have a path that leads directly to paradise? Just by doing some level of knowledge. Even we know that, I forget the reference now, but even we know that the hadith of Prophet ﷺ talks about those people on Yawm al-Qiyamah who are destined for the hellfire. And the people of Jannah will call out and say to Allah, we know these people, they used to be with us. And He will turn around and they used to attend the lectures, and they will be removed from the hellfire and put in Jannah just because they used to be in the company. They weren't even students of knowledge, but they used to sit in the halaqat. They were in the mosque. They may have said, I might as well do something useful. He goes and sits on the wall at the back of the dars. He's not one of the students there with his pen and paper, but he's in a good environment, and they will be removed from the hellfire into Jannah because of that. So at least we should try and aim to be in those good environment. All of us can be students of knowledge.
It's not a race.
But go sit there, don't go sit in the nightclubs.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like what you meant, there's no finish line. There's no finish line. I think Imam Ahmad, he narrated that seeking knowledge from the cradle to the grave. There's no finish line. You have to continuously be seeking. And wallahi, ilm wallahi, change your life. Wallahi al-azim, it will change your life. The way you conduct yourself, the way you speak to people, the way you feel in your heart. You know what I mean? And ilm, I want to really mention this, I want to emphasize this point, is ilm is the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will not enter into a heart which is, diseased. So wallahi, one thing I advise whoever's watching this, whether it's tulab al-ilm, whether it's whether it's general people, anything, wallahi, if there's one thing we could do is clean the heart. And wallahi, that's something I work on very, very, very hard. Wallahi, is cleaning the heart. There's not a day where I don't go by where I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the disease in the heart, because everyone has them. And that's one of the reasons why I came to this country, to be honest. is to see the Shaykh. Wallahi, the way he conducts himself, the way he has hirs on ilm. This is something unique, wallahi, you don't find with people. And you yourself, you need to be hungry for this. Wallahi, because if you have this, it's worth more than any gem, jewel, billion, $1 trillion in this dunya. Wallah, the words can't explain it.
SubhanAllah, it's kind of off the topic, but also related, because you mentioned here about cleaning of the heart, and it reminds me of the hadith where I can't remember, SubhanAllah, the Sahabi right now, so I don't want to misquote, but one of the Sahaba, or the Sahaba was sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, and one of the unknown Sahabi used to come in, and one of the well-known Sahaba, which I forget which one now, so I don't want to misquote it, said to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, the man will come in now, will enter the masjid, he is from Ahl al-Jannah. He walked in. The next day, the Prophet ﷺ said the same thing. So this well-known companion of the Prophet ﷺ, I forget who it was, said, I'm going to go and spend time. I'll spend a day or two with this individual, because he's not one of the well-known Sahaba, so we don't know anything special about him. So why is he from Ahl al-Jannah? So he went and spent time with him, a day or two. And then after the time finished, he said to him, I spent time with you. I said, I'll be honest with you. I came here because Prophet ﷺ said this about you. But I don't see you a person of regular fasting. I don't see you a person who stands the night in prayer. So do you have any idea what makes you special? He said, Wallahi, I don't go to sleep each night except that I've removed from my heart the ill feelings towards my brothers. And best something simple like this, subhanallah. So the aspect of the heart is very important. Very important.
You have to. One thing I learned here in Dubai was to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best state. Wallah, that's what the Shaykh told me, to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best state. That's the most important thing. Knowledge is just a means. It's just a means. And wallahi, knowledge is not knowledge if you don't act upon it.
SubhanAllah. And not only that, it reminds me of something now that we see with many people who may have knowledge or may claim to have knowledge, but they have a very bad character.
No, this is not
and
knowledge.
We see that if you look, we see that the students of Imam Malik, they said, we learnt from Imam Malik his adab before we learnt from him his knowledge. And I believe it was Sufyan al-Thawri who said that I taught myself for 30 years good manners and then 20 years knowledge. I mean, of course, that whole thing there is a whole episode, and we've probably got like about 4 or so minutes left, but that whole thing is an episode by itself. But so many hadith where the Prophet said, the closest people to me on Yawm al-Qiyamah will be the best of you in character. Prophet he himself said that he was not إنما بعثت لأكمل أو أتمم صالح أو مكارم أخلاق, different narrations, that I wasn't sent except to perfect the best of characters or the most noble of characters, which obviously the most noble of character is Tawheed, but of course it goes down in all aspects of life. So we see so many, and that's a problem. You cannot, if you want to have knowledge, this knowledge has to come with good character.
Implementation.
If you notice all of a sudden that you have a lot of knowledge, but you have a bad character, then there's some problem there.
100%.
You have some issue. There has to be a balance. And you see, subhanAllah, that the religion revolves around worshipping Allah alone, staying away from anything but Allah. But then at the same time, we see the way you behave. Allah says that أَمَرًا لَا تَعْبَدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, for example, that you were worshipped to only, you were ordered to worship Allah alone and to be good to your parents. So if you find now that you're someone who has knowledge, but you have shortcomings to your parents, you have an issue there. Because not only is this mentioned after Tawheed, this shows us that not only is it one of the greatest deeds after worshipping Allah alone, it is also then, of course, on the flip side, one of the biggest sins. So there's the big, all these things are the things, like you said, that will lead to having a pure heart. I mean, I guess now we probably have around about 2 or 3 minutes, about 3 or 4 minutes left. For these last 4 minutes, what would your advice be to the people now watching there? They know what we're saying makes sense, whether they're Muslim or not Muslim. I guess you could end by giving the advice for 3 or 4 minutes to those who are not Muslim and are thinking about becoming Muslim. because you were at that point, and those who are Muslims but they're trying to live this un-Islamic lifestyle, thinking that this is the way to go?
I'd advise them to rush to that what benefits you, as the Prophet ﷺ said. To rush to that what benefits you, wallahi. These things are not going to benefit you, wallahi. These things are not going to benefit you, wallahi. I've been there, I've done that, I've experienced it, I've felt that. And as much, I'm not perfect, wallahi, to this day, some of that stuff that I used to do enters the heart sometimes. You know, and that's why it's very important to work on the heart. Even you could be watching on TV, these things enter the heart. You know what I mean? So my advice, wallahi, is very, 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 very simple. Is rush to that which is going to benefit you. Wallahi, you never know when we're going to die. You never know when we're going to die. We're going to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we're going to be called to account for everything we did. Every word that I spoke here. Everything that I've said, what I gave, what I've done, everything is going to be brought on the Day of Judgment with Allah Azza wa Jal. And wallah, if we have this consciousness and we're remembering that we're going to die and we're going to be resurrected, we're going to stand in front of Allah, inshallah, bring some fear to the heart. And rush to that's what's going to benefit you. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair for,
Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
Jazakallah khair for coming on. And for the viewers, we thank you for tuning in. And we hope, inshallah, some of the non-Muslim viewers, some of our Muslim viewers who are struggling with some of these issues, whether it's thinking about Islam or whether it's chasing after these lifestyles that in reality will never bring us happiness. We hope, inshallah, that this was served as a kind of a reminder to yourselves, hopefully something that will maybe enlighten you or inspire you to make the steps to Islam or make the steps to leaving this kind of lifestyle which has no real benefit to it in the long term. And with that, inshallah, I leave you as always. And inshallah, for the same time, bi'idhnillah, same time, same place. And I leave you always with the greetings of Islam, the greetings of peace. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.